Good evening. Well, in a few minutes' time in Madrid, we shall have the draw for the 1982 World Cup, and we should be going to the Congress Hall there live to see it made. I'm sure I don't have to remind you of the added interest there is for Britain now that England, Scotland and Northern Ireland have all qualified for the finals, which will be played in Spain in June and July. While in the last few minutes some of the team managers have been arriving in the hall, there's the familiar figure of England's Ron Greenwood, and I'm sure not far behind, yes, there he is, the man who's guided Scotland to the World Cup finals, Jock Stein, with Billy Bingham of Northern Ireland on the right of the picture there. And the familiar figure of Enzo Bearzot, the Italian team manager. He's been under a lot of pressure lately, but he looks in a pretty jubilant frame of mind there. Well, joining me here tonight also are three men with very much a vested interest in the draw. One is the England goalkeeper, Ray Clemence. And Ray, it now seems to be confirmed at last that England will be seeded. What's your reaction to that?
Well, obviously, I think we all think that we're very lucky to be seeded. But having said that, we're very pleased to be seeded, and we hope we can take advantage of it. What are the advantages, do you think? Well, obviously, by all the reports, we're going to be based in Bilbao, which in the first place is going to be the least hot place. Yes. So therefore that's going to be better for us in playing conditions. And also we get the advantage of playing our first 3 games in the one stadium, which is going to be another tremendous advantage as well. And you also avoid, although there'll be a few dangerous wild cards in the pack, the real biggies, the Brazils, the Argentinas, the West Germanys. Yes, they're certainly not the sort of teams that you want to come up against in your opening match. You want to try and play your way in. But obviously there's 1 or 2 other strong sides as well, as you say, which really we'd like to steer clear of in the opening group. Yeah, so far so good for England at any rate. Good. Well, meanwhile up in Lancashire we've got Asa Hartford, who captained Scotland in the past season, and also the captain of Northern Ireland, Martin O'Neill, both of Manchester City. Asa, the talk today is though that Scotland could finish up in England's group. What's your reaction to that?
Well, if that's so, I think we'd be quite happy with that. Because if you look at the top seeds, you know, out of the 6, I would say we would much prefer to play against England or be seeded with Italy. And that would suit us fine.
Do you feel in any way slightly peeved that you haven't been seeded yourself? Because, I mean, Scotland reached the last 2 World Cup finals. They did everything supremely right in all their group games. Yeah,
to be fair, I think we feel a little bit aggrieved that we're not one of the second seeds, and a little bit upset that England, who after all haven't done anything for 16 years since they actually won the World Cup in 1966, you know, have not qualified since then, and they're in there as #1 seeds. From that point of view, I think if we'd played all our matches, if the World Cup was held in Scotland and we'd played all our matches at Hampden, I'd fancy us to win the World Cup. So, yeah, we feel a little bit aggrieved.
Ray, do you sympathise with him?
It's the old England-Scotland thing again, isn't it? Is that we could be arguing all for this half hour about England and Scotland, but we did win it, and that's the reason that we're there.
Yes. Well, Martin O'Neill, you're there, Martin, as well. Did you get a game this afternoon, Mart?
Yes, I played in the reserves, actually, because it's... I think it's only about 3 games I've played in the last 2 months, so a little bit of match fitness there, Brian.
Yes. Now, while people are talking about seeding and whether they're not going to be seeded, I suppose, as skipper of Northern Ireland, you're just delighted to be there, aren't you?
Absolutely. You know, if we could get Luxembourg and Mallorca, I think we'd be absolutely delighted with that. But, yes, this time last year, we had been delighted to be one of the 24 sides. But now that we've actually made it, we're hoping to make some sort of show.
Yes. And do you feel that, I mean, do you think that you could be one of the dangerous jokers in the pack, if I can put it that way?
I don't see why not, to tell you the truth, because we've got some good players, and in our qualifying rounds we only conceded 3 goals. So I think that will probably be difficult to beat. Our problem's actually getting goals at the other end, but I think that's a worldwide problem anyway.
Yes, I mean, being not one of the seeded sides, you're going to come up against someone pretty tough. Is there anyone that you really feel we don't want to draw them tonight?
Well, in the second seeded teams, I think they've knocked off a lot of East European teams. And I think Austria are the only side in it, if I'm correct in saying that. Right. If that is so, we're going to end up playing teams that I would really be worried about, like Russia. Yugoslavia, I've always felt excellent side. During the early 70s, middle 70s, I thought they were as good a side that was playing in Europe at that time. That's
to say nothing of the top seeded players. Asa, is there a side that you would hope, you know, Scotland will not get drawn against?
Well, obviously we're hoping to steer clear of the 3, well, I would say the 3 favourites, you know, Spain, the host nations, Argentina, and probably the favourites, Brazil. So, as I said before, Italy or England would do us fine. But as far as the second seeds are concerned, then we'd like to keep well away from Russia. I fancy to go, well, they could go all the way, I feel.
Yes. Well, in a moment we should be going across to Madrid, but let me just, before we do that, explain to you how the draw will be made tonight. 24 nations have qualified, and they will be drawn into 6 groups, each with 4 teams, and already those 24 nations have been split up into 4 sections. Now, the first section will be the top seeds, and there will be 1 of these teams in each of the 6 groups, and the seeds are Argentina, the holders, Spain, the hosts, the former winners, Brazil, England, Italy, and West Germany. Then there's a second section, and these will be 1 each of these teams in the 6 groups as well. These were the teams that Martin was talking about a moment ago: Austria, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Poland, the USSR, and Yugoslavia, mostly Eastern European countries. Then there's the third section, and there'll be 1 each of these teams in the 6 groups as well: Chile, Belgium, France, Northern Ireland, Peru, and Scotland. And then we have the 4th section, also 1 of these nations in every group as well, and these are the real underdogs, the minnows, but of course, who can tell these days? There's Algeria, the Cameroons, El Salvador, Honduras, Kuwait, and there's New Zealand. Now, it may seem a little complicated to you, but I can assure you that when you see it go up on the screens in Madrid, it's all going to fall into place. Well, they're going through the preliminaries in Madrid at this very moment, and these will include the handing back of the World Cup by the winners of 1978, Argentina. So let's go across to Madrid now and join our commentator there, Jim Rosenthal.
And welcome to the Congress Hall in Madrid. I would say we're around about 10 minutes away from the draw itself. You haven't missed anything at all, just the preliminaries taking place. And at the moment, the president of the Spanish FA, Pablo Porta, giving his welcoming speech and saying how glad he is, the main point he's making, that Spain are the first country to receive 24 countries into this championship. The biggest ever World Cup stage, 24 countries here. The 12th World Cup will also be the biggest. Well, that draw that Brian said would become clear later on, believe you me, there are a lot of people here that are hoping that things will be clarified. I think I heard Martin O'Neill talking about the possibility of Northern Ireland getting paired with Luxembourg. Well, there are 1 or 2 of us here that wouldn't be at all surprised if Luxembourg came out of one of those big drums, because the Spanish, I think we can say, have organised things in a way of their own. That's Mr. Pablo Porta, the president of the Spanish FA, finishing his welcoming speech there. And things haven't been made terribly clear. I'll give you an instance this morning. We went to one room and the FIFA delegate there said there's no chance of England and Scotland being drawn together. And 5 minutes later, in another room, we were told, yes, England and Scotland could well be drawn together. And now the familiar face of one of the top members of FIFA, Dr. João Avalanche, making his speech there. The young man that you saw for a moment, the young prince, the 14-year-old prince, son of King Juan Carlos, Prince of Asturias, who is here presiding over this ceremony, the heir to the Spanish throne. Well, Dr. Avalanche, of course, the man really responsible for making this World Cup the biggest with 24 countries. It was his idea. 65-year-old president of FIFA, used to be an excellent swimmer as well, represented Brazil at water polo and swimming, and took over from Stanley Rouse in 1974. I can tell you that these formalities will carry on for around about another 10 minutes. As Brian said to you, we're soon going to hear the World Cup being handed back from the holders at Argentina. And then we will get on to the draw itself. I'll hold back my explanation of exactly how that's going to happen, and believe you me, I'll do my best to make it as simple as possible for you. But it is a rather complicated procedure, but I hope I'll keep things simple and make sure that you can understand it well. Dr. Avalanche hinted he was going to retire this summer, but now looks as though he's going to stay for another 4 years as president of FIFA. He's talking now about the 24 teams coming here. Some say the World Cup has gone too big, that it's commercialisation gone crazy. You can just see in the centre of your screen there, Bert Millership, the FA chairman. Just catch him there. These are the delegates from the 24 countries sitting in this superb hall, the Congress Palace. They had a bit of trouble clearing out the European Security Conference here, and they're all going to be coming back next month in February. Just over 2,500 people are here in the Congress Hall and in the Overspill. Well, Dr. Avalanche says it's a courageous undertaking really extending the World Cup to 24 teams. It requires a very careful planning indeed. And the work that's been going on around some of the centres that I hope to be able to tell you about a little later on has really been terrific. And I think that when the World Cup starts here in June, certainly the stadia that the 24 countries are going to have to play in, there'll be no complaints about those. And Dr. Avalanche is paying special thanks to His Royal Highness, the Prince of Asturias, the young man that we saw a little earlier on. Asturias, in fact, includes Gijón at the centre where West Germany are going to be based. Just before the draw was made, they officially opened the walkway that stretches from the Bernabeu Stadium just behind us, the home of Real Madrid, literally 50 yards away from this Congress Hall. So that walkway linking where the World Cup starts with tonight's draw and where it finishes with the final here on July the 11th. Dr. Avalanche just coming towards the end of his speech, and then very shortly we're going to have the World Cup handed back by Argentina. In just a few moments' time, I'll have a chance, in fact, during some of these speeches that I'm sure you agree you don't want to hear every word of, and I'll have a chance to explain to you exactly how the draw works and hopefully give you one or two of the numbers to watch out for and explain how things are going to happen. This draw, incidentally, is being watched on televisions in 72 different countries. Millions of people all over the world tuned in live to this draw. In fact, twice the number of people who watched the draw in Buenos Aires 4 years ago. And there is the young prince presiding here over the draw, and Dr. Avalanche paying that special thanks to him. After Dr. Avalanche's speech, there'll be a brief announcement, and then we will see the World Cup itself being handed back. And then after that, there will be a fairly lengthy speech that, again, I'm sure you don't want to hear too much about, and we might bring in the lads up in the north and Ray Clemence. And there's the young prince again that we're seeing once more. The Spanish director obviously keen to give the world a good sight of the young prince, whose father is going to be here for the opening match and for the final, the opening match in the Nou Camp Stadium in Barcelona, and for the final in the Real Madrid Stadium. So there's the finish to Dr. Avalanche's speech, and now we're just seeing coming into view the World Cup being handed back by the president of the Argentine FA, Julio Gorandola. That magnificent trophy. They've had a little bit of trouble with security and things, worth £2 million it is, and now handing the trophy via Dr. Avalanche to Pablo Porta. Dr. Avalanche to Pablo Porta, and the trophy that Argentina won in their own country comes back to Spain. And if you feel that the hosts are going to win it again, as they did in Argentina and in West Germany in '74, well, the bookmakers tell us you can have 7-1 against on Spain. And in just a moment, we're going to have this fairly lengthy speech from Mr. Neuberger, and during that, I will tell you what to expect when those gaps are filled in a little later on.
Meine lieben Freunde des Fußballs, alle 4 Jahre ruft das Spiel mit dem großen Lederball die besten Mannschaften der Kontinente zum Finale.
It might be worth at this stage, just before I go through the draw, to have a quick word with the players. Ray Clemence starting with you in London. Ron Greenwood over here, very relaxed indeed, saying he's not really worried who England gets. Delighted to be based in Bilbao. Any thoughts from you just before the draw about who you might want to avoid? Scotland, for example?
Well, obviously I don't think we'd like to play against Scotland because we're playing them 2 weeks before we go out to start off with. But I don't think we'd like to play against Scotland. We'd like to save that for a little bit later in the competition if we both progress. And Russia I'm not too keen on playing against either, because I think they are a very, very strong side and probably the dark horses for the tournament. So those are the two sides, the main two sides I don't want to be drawn against.
Well, that brings me on to Martin O'Neill, representing Northern Ireland with us tonight. Martin, I know, talking to Billy Bingham, that the Soviet Union really are the country that he is desperately keen to avoid.
Yeah, and as Ray said, I think that they could be the dark horses of the competition. Being perfectly honest, I'd be more worried about playing the Cameroons and teams like that, because that's the type of team that tends to embarrass us. As our record over the last couple of years tends to suggest that we can certainly live with the big boys, but fall down against the smaller nations.
Yes, the Cameroons offered at 2,000 to 1 out here today.
I don't think I'll be betting them.
No, I didn't think you would, knowing you. But Asa Hartford, Jock Steen has been the great sort of guesser around here. He was telling us yesterday that he knew exactly what the draw was going to be. And in fact, I even sat down with him and worked out the draw with him. And now I saw him this morning, and he says everything's changed again. We might get England. But I think the feeling is that the Scots are going to be based somewhere pretty hot, possibly in the south somewhere. Are you worried about playing in the sort of 70, 80 degrees?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, you're playing in the middle of June in a few days down in Malaga and Seville, then it's going to be a bit of a problem. But I believe before we actually get there, we're going to have a week in Portugal, down the south, on the Algarve. So hopefully we'll be acclimatised by the time we actually play there. That's if we are based down there. As you said before, I think he tended to think along the lines that we were going to be based up in Vigo and we'd be seeded with Italy, which seemed pretty good.
That's right. Well, I know that the Scots have been very thorough and have visited all the centres, in fact, and had a look at the hotels in all the centres, and so they really have prepared thoroughly for this World Cup. In case you're just joining us, we're waiting still for the World Cup draw, just around about 3 or 4 minutes away, the actual draw itself, and we're listening to a speech by Herman Neuberger, chairman of the 1982 World Cup Organising Committee, the man who was responsible for running the 74 World Cup in West Germany. Let me just try and mark your card now about the draw itself, about exactly what's going to happen. Those 6 seeds that Brian Moore mentioned right at the top of the programme, Italy in Group 1, based in Vigo. In Group 2, West Germany, the European champions, based in Gijón. Then the holders, Argentina, they're based in Alicante. Group 4, that's England's group, and England are number 13, so that's the number to watch out for with England. Number 13, and they're based in the north in Bilbao. In Group 5, the host Spain, based in Valencia. And then Brazil, the favourites, in Seville. So that's the first group, and those are the 6 seeds. Then there are 3 other groups. The second group, which is Group A. Group A, the second group, that's the Eastern Bloc teams, the Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Yugoslavia, and Poland, and Austria are in there as well. That is Group A. Then Group B, which basically is the rest of the Europeans. That includes Scotland and Northern Ireland. So Scotland and Northern Ireland in Group B, along with Belgium and France, and the 2 South Americans, Chile and Peru. And the draw is going to be arranged, that's the polite way of saying it, I think, going to be arranged so that these 2, Chile and Peru, are kept apart from the South American giants, Brazil and Argentina. FIFA said today that they could do that because there weren't as many South American teams as there are Europeans in the draw, so they couldn't guarantee, for instance, to keep England and Scotland apart, but Chile and Peru definitely won't be in the groups with Brazil and Argentina. And then we move into the last group, Group C, the minnows. Algeria and the Cameroons from Africa, El Salvador and Honduras from Central America, Kuwait, and finally New Zealand, here for the first time, and the last country to qualify, and a country with a great British influence. So then, those are the 3 groups, and they go into 3 huge drums that you'll be seeing very shortly. They use them for the national lottery here, and those drums are labelled A, B, and C. And then they're going to decide which of those drums they will use first. So, for instance, if they go for drum B, the European group will immediately know Scotland's and Northern Ireland's fate. I hope you're with me so far. Believe me, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. But the organisers, just to give us all wrinkles and a bit of heartache, to keep it complex, then have another draw to decide the team's number, and that will tell you the order of their matches. And so, for instance, in England's group, England number 13, and their 3 matches are against numbers 14, 15 and 16. But when the teams are drawn out of the drum, there will be another draw to see exactly which numbers they're going to have. And now that is all going to be explained to the crowd here by Signor Blatter, who is going to FIFA's General Secretary, and he is now going to explain the mechanics of the draw. I don't think it'll harm things at all for me just to underline what is happening there. Groups A, B and C, and I hope they're going to show them to you very shortly. It's been a complicated arrangement here, and this is where all the speculation really is taking place about whether they can keep apart European teams who have played each other in qualifying matches, whether they can keep apart the British teams, and obviously they don't want the minnows to be drawn together. They've managed that, but it's they've also managed to keep Chile and Peru apart. But for instance, it could even happen that England could be drawn with Hungary. Well, these are the groups coming up for you now, and any moment they will fill in the seeds at the top of each group. At first group, Vigo and Corona is where Italy are going to be based. The second group in Gijón and Oviedo is where the West Germans are going to be. The third group in Alicante, and there are those drums that I've been telling you about, containing the names of the countries in little footballs that actually screw apart and the names come out of those little footballs. The young boys who are going to be responsible for doing the draw all come from the same school around here, and they're all pretty used to doing it as well, because they take part, in fact, in the national lottery. All aged between 12 and 14, 8 rather nervous young children, they were telling me, all from the same school here in Madrid. And in fact, the lottery here is the biggest in the world. It's held every Christmas, and they've got a lottery which they call El Gordo, which has been translated to me as the fat one. And that lottery gives away millions of pounds every Christmas, and these boys, always from the same school, the San Ildefonso here in Madrid, are the boys responsible for that lottery, and the ones who've been entrusted with the draw here tonight. So carrying on through those centres, Group 4 there was England based in Bilbao, and England will play all their matches in Bilbao. And England are the only number that I can give you at the moment, because obviously if you haven't managed to follow, Scotland and Northern Ireland haven't been allotted their numbers yet. But England will play number 13, England there on the left of your screen, and they will play team numbers 14, 15 and 16 in their first 3 matches. So that group in fact is quite simple, that the names underneath England 14, 15 and 16 will be the first 3 matches. Group 5 there, Spain, the host, based in Valencia and Zaragoza, and Group 6, the favourites, Brazil, based in Seville. The favourites, Brazil, they're based in Seville. Just carrying things a stage further for you, that if England win Group 4, or if they indeed manage to go through, they're going to be playing here in Madrid. And if England win Group 4, they're going to be playing against the winners of Group 3, that's the group that West Germany are in, here in Madrid. And also in that group will be the runners-up of Group 5, which is Spain's group. But that is looking a little way ahead. But very simply, I can tell you that if England win or if they qualify, they're going to come here to Madrid, but there is a change of stadium depending on whether they finish first or second in Group 4. Having been to Bilbao, I might just call in Ray Clemence here, actually, and ask him a bit about the stadiums that he likes to play in, because Bilbao, Ray, is a lovely British-style stadium, a bit like sort of West Ham or Derby County. Very close, and the crowd really is close to you on that pitch.
Well, I think that would be an obvious advantage to us, yet again. I did see the stadium on the television at lunchtime, and it did look typically, well, not a typical English stadium, but at least the crowd was close to the pitch, and that will certainly be to our advantage, and it will generate a great atmosphere as well.
And I know that the Basque people are really looking forward to England coming there, and I think it's fair to say you're going to be very popular people there, Ray.
Well, Ronnie Allen was saying at lunchtime, wasn't he, that the English are quite popular in the north of Spain, and that he thinks that all the neutral support will be behind the English team. So let's hope they do get right behind us, and we perform on the pitch as we know we can do.
Well, they're just putting the seeds up on the draw now, actually, and they're, as I told you, with Italy in Group 1. Italy, who had a really bad 1-0 victory it was at home to Luxembourg recently, and there was England just being thrashed up there in Group 4 in Bilbao, and you saw the Italian manager, though, Enzo Bearzot, all smiles arriving here. So there we are, the 6 seeds are up. They have taken their place at the top of their respective groups. Italy, West Germany, Argentina, England in Group 4, Spain in Group 5, and Brazil in Group 6. And we are now getting near to the moment of truth. We're now getting near to when all the speculation is going to stop, and we're actually going to know who is going to be playing who. And believe you me, that is very, very welcome indeed. So, the first teams are going to be drawn out of that B casket, and that means we will know Scotland and Northern Ireland's group fairly rapidly. Then the minnows, Group C. And that means that the third casket will be Eastern Europe plus Austria. So, in the order of the draw, Western Europe, including Scotland and Northern Ireland, plus Chile and Peru. And then the minnows. And then Eastern Europe with the addition of Austria. And there goes this huge iron casket, and we wait for the name of the first country to emerge. They wouldn't let you go near these caskets this afternoon, and when the security men around here say you don't go, you don't go. There comes a little miniature football that will be carried across. And we wait for the first name. Mr. Neuberger opens it out. And we're wondering if we're going to see the names. We can see them. That is Belgium. And now we see the number that they've been given, and we will very quickly be able to... Number 3, Belgium. So Belgium drawn in Italy's group, number 3, and they will play against Italy in their second game. European champions, the runners-up to West Germany. They won, of course, their Group 2, Belgium, which saw the elimination of the Republic of Ireland and of Holland. Now we go into the West German group. So Belgium paired there with Italy. West Germany won this group with a 100% record and a brilliant goal tally of 33-3. The reigning European champions, and let's wait and see who comes out of their group. If they have arranged this draw, they've arranged it very well indeed, because we didn't think we were going to be able to see the names of the countries, but we can. And it looks to me like Scotland. It's Scotland. Scotland then drawn with West Germany, and we wait to see their number to see who they're going to play. Scotland with West Germany. We'll wait to see whether they open up. Asa Hartford, that is number 10. Just a moment there. They have rather departed from their set schedule. Scotland, in fact, drawn number 10 with Argentina. Scotland with Argentina, well, really, out of the frying pan into the fire, really. Asa Hartford.
Well, it couldn't be any tougher than that, could it? I mean, it's as we said, we'd have been happy with this, but that's already gone. So we've got it all to do so far.
Well, Scotland with Argentina in Alicante, and in fact, that will be the first game against Argentina. So Scotland will open the World Cup against Argentina, the holders. So the next team is taken across, and what a hard draw that is for Scotland. The South Americans, apparently Chile and Peru, are not in that drum yet, so they're being kept apart. As I said to you earlier on, they've been kept apart from Argentina and Brazil. Bit of a pause here, a bit of a lull in the proceedings. And still, those names spin right. It might be a little chance to bring in Asa Hartford once again. And Asa, any second thoughts about that?
Well, obviously excited with. Obviously excited. You know, they will be opening the match there, opening the tournament. You know, I've got butterflies in my stomach already thinking about it. But it's obviously the toughest. You know, one of the toughest ones that we could have pulled. So a little bit disappointed with that.
Well, Asa, we're just hearing here that an error has been made in the draw. I must confess that it confused me slightly, and they are now trying to sort things out here. An error has been made in the draw. Well, let's just keep your eyes on Belgium and see where they go. Well, we did say that things have been a little bit complicated. I did say I'd try and keep it simple for you. There are whistles now in the hall. And to be quite honest, it doesn't surprise me because everything else has been a little bit confused and a bit complex. And this hiccup, if we can put it politely, it doesn't come as any great surprise to me. And we're just going to see how they're going to put things right. And if you think I'm a bit worried up here, I think there are one or two more worried FIFA delegates down there trying to sort things out. Let's just have a look. Well, Scotland have gone in there under Argentina. On the official scoreboard, Scotland are in there under Argentina. So that still looks as though Scotland have been drawn in Group 3 with Argentina. And there's a major lull in the proceedings here. But just looking at that draw, Belgium have been removed from Group 3. And Scotland have, I'm just looking closely at the board, Belgium have been certainly removed from Group 3. They're not showing you the board here, and they're really not doing anybody too many favours. And have been put behind Argentina. Now, Scotland initially were in there. Hold on now. This is coming about where Scotland, as I understand it, have gone into Group 6, number 23, with Brazil. Well, Asa, we've had the bit, haven't we? We've had West Germany first of all, and then we had Argentina, and now you've got Brazil. Somebody out there doesn't like Scotland.
So we're going to end up with Italy, as I said before, the one that we want. So, yeah, as you say, Brazil are the favourites, and it's a real tough one for us.
Well, that's right. Brazil, the favourites, and you're in that group with Brazil. And you will play Brazil, second match, in fact. Brazil, second game. And you've never beaten Brazil, in fact. You played them 5 times, and the best you managed was the goalless draw that you probably remember in the 74 finals.
That's right. So it's time for a victory for us, isn't it? I mean, the law of averages demand that we've got to win one soon. So let's hope it's over there in Malaga.
Okay, Ada, we're keeping. That's Peru there. Have come out of the hat. Peru number. Just seeing where they're going to be allotted. It's number 3, Peru, so they are in there with Italy, and they will play Italy in their second match in Vigo. So Peru go in with Italy. Remember, they had to avoid Brazil and Argentina. Well, there goes another one out of those giant caskets. And after what we've had here so far, well, we've got to be ready for anything. Remember, you're seeing those names just as soon as I am as well. Chile. Right, out come Chile. And now we get the draw for their number as well. And Chile, number 7. So Chile go in with West Germany. And they will play West Germany in their second match, Chile, in Gijón. So in go Chile. And it's been quite a smooth 3 or 4 minutes, hasn't it? I wonder if there's going to be anything untoward coming out now. Chile then go in with the West Germans. And in fact, they haven't played each other since the 1974 finals, those two, when the Germans won by 1-0. Chile, though, probably the poorest of the South American qualifiers, group winners, but no real outstanding players. And so that looks a very good draw indeed for West Germany. France are next out. And what number will they have? Number 14, France. France go into England's group and will play England in their first game in Bilbao. Ray Clemence, your reaction to that?
Well, I think it's a very good draw for us. France are a team of individuals, a very talented side, but I think that we're playing them in March in a friendly, and that'll be a good guideline for us.
Absolutely right. Terrific guideline that. France finishing second to Belgium in Group 2, and of course they put the Republic out on goal difference. So that's England's first game against France, and this, I believe, is Northern Ireland coming out there. Yes, it is. Wait for their number, and then we'll have an instant reaction from Martin O'Neill. It's number 20. Northern Ireland go in with the hosts, Spain. And that, I must admit, Martin, was a pretty open secret, wasn't it?
Well, that's right, that's right. The way the draw's been going there, Jim, I'm just glad they didn't make us qualify again. Yeah, extremely difficult, just as we imagined.
Well, it's going to be the last game against Spain that you're playing there. And, in fact, I hate to tell you, but you've played them 5 times. You've never beaten them, Asa. Martin, I should say.
Sorry?
Right, here's the Cameroon out of the hat. We'll be back with you in just a moment. The Cameroon, one of the 6 minnows. Let's see who's got them. Group 4. So they go in with Italy and Peru. And I tell you what, Italy must be well pleased with the way things have gone so far. The Cameroon, the rank outsiders, in there with Italy. And that will be Italy's 3rd game against the Cameroon in Vigo. The Cameroon, the first time they reached the finals, in fact. And they've never played in any of the other 23 competing nations, Cameroons. But at the moment, England drawn with France, Northern Ireland drawn with Spain, and Scotland with Brazil. Algeria, I should say. Algeria, another of the minnows. And Algeria, number 6. So Algeria go in with West Germany, and they won't be too unhappy with that either. That's their first game, in fact, the European champions, the first game against Algeria in Gijón. So the West Germans in with Algeria and Chile, and it looks good for them so far. And remember, if West Germany win their group and England win in Bilbao, they'll have to play each other in the second phase here in Madrid. El Salvador, another of the minnows coming out now. Number 12, El Salvador. And they go in with Argentina and Belgium. The opening match of the tournament will be between Argentina and Belgium now, not Argentina and Scotland as was first put up, but El Salvador are in there, and that'll be the 3rd game for Argentina. El Salvador. Never played Argentina in their history, and perhaps they'll be after a famous victory there. This is Kuwait, and they are number 16. Kuwait then in England's group, and that will be England's last game against Kuwait. Ray Clemence, once again, your thoughts on that one?
Well, there again, it's not bad to be playing the weakest team last in the group, because at least you know if you've got to score a few goals to get to the top of the group, you know what you've got to do. And usually the no-hopers, as they're called, are then pretty weak anyway after playing a couple of games.
That's right. They won the Oceania group, did Kuwait. They twice drew 0-0 with Wales back in 1977, and they've improved quite a lot recently. The Hungarians, in fact, the only side over here who have played them, and they won 1-0 a couple of years ago, and other, of course, than China and New Zealand, who played in the qualifying group. But England will play Kuwait in Bilbao, and Kuwait will be their 3rd match there in Bilbao on the 25th of June. The Scots, if they finish second to Brazil, come here, go to Barcelona for their second phase, and they will be grouped probably with Italy, the winners of Group 1, and the winners of Group 3, and that'll be Argentina. So it looks a very tough draw indeed, doesn't it, for Scotland? And that's looking ahead a bit. Let's get back to the draw. Honduras, coming out of the giant casket, number 18. So it's Honduras in behind Spain and with Northern Ireland. Martin O'Neill, what do you know about Honduras?
Absolutely nothing, you know.
Absolutely. I thought you might say that.
We obviously expected one of those 6 sides anyway, and
you're right.
I think the only team that we would have known perhaps anything about is New Zealand, because they might have been the same colour as ourselves.
I'm led to believe that they may be the weakest team in the competition here.
That's marvellous.
All their qualifying games were held in Honduras, which gave them something of an advantage, as you might expect.
That's terrific.
Here come New Zealand now, anyway, a country with a great British influence, and a country that really qualified from nowhere, didn't they? They deprived China of a place, and New Zealand go into Scotland's group, Scotland and Brazil. So Asa Hartford, you've got New Zealand there, and you're going to play them, in fact, in your opening match.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it might sound. I mean, we've had the experience of this before in the last World Cup, where we were expected to beat Peru and Iran, and whereas in fact we lost to Peru and it could only manage to draw with Iran. So we won't underestimate them, and we won't be complacent at all.
Well, Poland just coming out of the Poland, and that is the first group to be completed. Poland are grouped in with Italy, Peru and the Cameroon. So Italy start off against Poland, who despite all the problems have assured FIFA that they're going to be sending a team here. Well, that's interesting. It looks as though that particular ball has snapped in half, hasn't it? So there's another little hiccup. Looks as though it's snapped in half, and perhaps the name's wandering around there in that huge casket. I'm not quite sure what else can happen here today. Perhaps the caskets can collapse, and there's one or two little fingers flicking in there. Perhaps they'll call housey housey soon or something like that. Well, I think I warned you earlier on that anything could happen here, but I really didn't expect too much of that. Looks as though there's sort of hands going through the cage and trying to prize the particular ball out there. Well, Jock described this as a Jackanory City to me today. He said different things are happening in different moments, and expect anything. Well, I don't think anybody could have really predicted that. New Zealand, a little word on then, grouped in with Scotland. Be interest to all of you up there in Scotland. Scored more goals than anyone else to qualify, 44, but that did include 13 against Fiji. And they're managed by a Lancastrian, John Adshead. First time here, 15 matches to get here, and there was great delight when they beat China in that qualifying game not so long ago. Oh, the ball's somehow sort of slid out of the side of the casket, looking a little bit unhappy there, like a sort of egg broken in half. And after our latest hiccup, we'll see exactly what that particular little ball contains. Herr Neuberger opens it up. And I must admit I didn't quite catch it. I think it's Austria. I think it's Austria, number 8. So Austria go in with West Germany, Algeria and Chile. Well, West Germany drawn there against Austria. And really, probably well pleased with that, I would think. So 2 sections complete at the moment. Group 1 is complete. Italy, Poland, Peru and the Cameroons playing that one in Vigo and La Corona. And Group 2 is complete as well, with West Germany, Algeria, Chile and Austria. And now a hand pushes a rather reluctant ball from the casket. It was chaos in the rehearsals as well, actually, so it doesn't really surprise me. And down they come. And I think Herr Neuberger might be quite a relieved man tonight to get this out of the way. And we wait to see what he's going to pull out of the hat there. We're not seeing... That's Hungary. That's Hungary, winners of England's group, of course. Hungary, number 11. So Hungary go in with Argentina, Belgium and El Salvador, number 11. And that, in fact, will be Argentina's second game, and they're first in Alicante. They play the opening match against Belgium at the Nou Camp Stadium in Barcelona, and that will be their second game. And so, another group complete, Argentina, Belgium, Hungary and El Salvador. Now we'll know the last member of England's group, I feel sure, if they do it according to plan. Czechoslovakia. And just confirm that that's going to be number 15 coming out of the hat there. It is. Czechoslovakia, the last in England's group in Bilbao. So England drawn with France, Czechoslovakia and Kuwait. Now Northern Ireland's final team, I believe, in Group 5. Remember, it's Spain, Honduras and Northern Ireland so far. And in fact, this could well be Northern Ireland's opening game, and it could well be against Yugoslavia. If that's 19, it is. Northern Ireland's opening game against Yugoslavia in Zaragoza, and the final one, which I can tell you before it's drawn out, is the Soviet Union, who go in with Brazil, Scotland and New Zealand. So that is the draw completed here. I will run through it very quickly for you once again. Group 1, Italy, Poland, Peru, the Cameroons. Group 2, West Germany, Algeria, Chile and Austria. Group 3, Argentina the holders, Belgium, Hungary and El Salvador. Group 4, England's group. France the first game, Czechoslovakia the second game, and Kuwait is the third game in England's group in Bilbao. Remember, England do not move from the San Mamés Stadium in Bilbao. Group 5. This is Northern Ireland's group. Spain, Honduras, Yugoslavia, and Northern Ireland. And Group 6, Brazil, the Soviet Union, Scotland, and New Zealand. That's it from Madrid. Back to you, Brian, in London.
Well done, Jim. So now we know how the action's going to work out in Spain this summer, remembering that the World Cup starts on June the 13th with the final in Madrid on the 11th of July. I hope they've got that right at any rate. Well, you can imagine how much speculation we're going to get between now and then, but let's just have a look at the facts of the night so far as they just affect the British qualifiers. England, for example, in Group 4 with France, Czechoslovakia and Kuwait. I fancy that's a pretty tough draw, to be honest. And Group 5, Spain, and here's Northern Ireland here with Honduras and Yugoslavia. Also pretty tough there for the Irish against the host nation, but surely the toughest job of all amongst the British qualifiers falls Scotland's way. In Group 6, with Brazil the favourites, Russia the dark horses, they have Scotland, and then the outsiders, New Zealand. Well, a final, Asa, we can just come to you. You've really struck it tough, haven't you?
That's right. Lady Luck's been a little bit hard on us there, and without doubt it's the hardest group of the lot. So we're bitterly disappointed, but let's hope maybe they'll underestimate us, you know. And after all, we've only got to beat Russia and the lesser team, and we should go through.
Yes, and Martin, it would seem that if you can just get over Yugoslavia, that you might even sneak through with Spain.
Be nice that, Brian, yes. We didn't expect it any other way. If we were third seeded, there are obviously going to be two good sides in front of us. And that's right, as you put it, if we can get through Yugoslavia, Spain, obviously at home, have a great chance.
Thank you, Martin. A very quick word, Ray.
I'm quite happy with the draw, really. It could have been a lot easier, but Czechia don't hold any real fears for me. I think France will be a tough game, but if we can do well against them, then I fancy us to get through.
Thanks to all the lads. The World Cup now really underway then. From us all here, it's good night.